Live? Alright, cool. Hey guys, I'm in the gym right now, chilling. But anyway, today the topic of interest is how to stop thinking about them. So in this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to stop thinking about the one that you love, so that you can move on and grow stronger. But the first thing I want to address is this, right? The fact that you're thinking about them is not the problem. Alright, the reason that you want to stop thinking about them is because the way you're thinking about them is causing you pain. Right, so for the most part, I'm going to teach you how to stop thinking about it, but I'm also going to teach you to change your perspective on the whole issue. Because the thing is, healing comes from a change of perspective, right? Because even if you stop thinking about the person that you really like, right, and you don't change your perspective on it, the thing is, you're still going to be hurting, right? The pain is still going to be there. The pain's not going to be dealt with. So I'm going to be teaching you how to deal with that pain as well. So with further ado, let's get started. Now, the first thing that I want you guys to understand is this: like, for you to understand how to stop thinking about them first, you need to understand how thought patterns work, right? So in like the average person experiences 12 emotions a day. Now when you think about 12 emotions a day, that's not a lot of emotions, because considering that there are like hundreds of different emotions you could be feeling, 12 is a very, very small amount. Now the reason why a lot of people feel like certain emotions all the time on a consistent basis is because of the pattern of thought, right? Your emotions are created by your thinking. Thoughts create emotions, right? And for the most part, we all have thought patterns that run. So for example, somebody who feels anger all the time, somebody who's always angry all the time, has a pattern to be angry. So for example, they'll be going about their day and then something happens. So maybe a trigger will go off, right? And when that trigger goes up, it creates the pattern in the mind. So the pattern starts running. So they start thinking like, oh, how could that person do this to me? Why would they do this to me? Oh, I feel so disrespected. I feel this. That pattern of thought starts running, and then it creates the emotion, right? And then that influences the behavior. Right, that's how the pattern runs. Now, for you to interrupt the pattern, for you to destroy that pattern, or for you to replace that pattern, you need to interrupt that pattern first, right? So it's the same thing with you. When you're thinking about that person that you're always thinking about, and you're feeling bad about yourself, the problem is not the fact that you're thinking about them, it's the pattern that is running, it's the way that you're thinking about them that's causing you pain, right? So for you to stop thinking about them, you need to first interrupt that thought pattern. Because I can imagine, for the most part, if you're always thinking about someone, there's some sort of trigger that sets you off. So maybe there'll be like some sort of smell that sets you off, and then the pattern runs. And most likely, in your mind, you'll be thinking that you've experienced a sense of loss. So maybe you'll be thinking like, oh, I feel so bad that this person has left me, this person's abused me, this person was bad to me, right? Or I'm so disrespected, I'm so embarrassed. You get those kind of thoughts running, and it creates that emotion, which is causing you pain. So, like I said, you have to learn to interrupt the pattern. So I'm going to share with you ways to interrupt the thought pattern. So one way you can interrupt the thought pattern is through this, right? It's through speaking. So think about this, right? You cannot speak and think at the same time. So for example, when you are like experiencing the thought pattern of like you're thinking of that person, you're feeling bad about yourself, when that pattern's running, when you think you're like, oh, I feel so embarrassed, that person used me, that person's bad to me, start speaking out, right? And start speaking out positive things. And this sounds crazy, like, but literally start doing it. So when that thought pattern starts running, you start saying to yourself, you know what, I am happy, I am whole, I am strong. Repeat that, and that interrupts the thought pattern. So like literally try that now. So literally think of something and then speak. What you find is that when you do that, right, the thoughts, they quieten, they stop. Okay, that's one way you can do it, right? Another way you can interrupt the thought pattern is through movement. So for example, when the pattern of thought is running again, if you get up and jump up or do something for like 5-star jumps, it interrupts the pattern, right? It stops the pattern. So you need to find different ways to interrupt the pattern, because it's through the interruption of the pattern that will stop those emotions from manifesting. Okay, so below I'll list different ways to interrupt patterns, because there are many different ways you can do it. Okay, so interrupt the pattern, that's the first step. Now, yo, all right, hi guys, I got some here. Spencer, say hi, bro. Say hi to meet you.
Yes.
More like Spencer. I'm doing a live stream, bro. yeah.
Yes, cheers, live stream.
Yeah. Sorry. Right. Hey, we're talking about how to stop thinking about someone that you really like. Yeah.
I'll let you back on.
All right. Okay. Okay. So as I was saying, right, you need to interrupt the pattern. So now interrupting the pattern is not enough, right? So once you've interrupted the pattern, now you want to replace the pattern with something else, right? So this is how it works. So like for example, when someone is addicted to a drug or addicted to some sort of behavior, what you find is there's a pattern that runs for them to be addicted to that sort of thing. So like when somebody overcomes an addiction, what happens is they replace the pattern of the addictive thinking with something else, right? So for example, like someone quits smoking. So let's say someone's addicted to smoking, right? You'll find that when somebody quits smoking, they quit that pattern of behavior of smoking, and they replace it with something else. So maybe they replace it with gym, or they replace it with reading, or they replace it with something else, right? So So it's the same thing with you guys. So when you're thinking about that person and you've interrupted that pattern, now you want to create a new pattern that's gonna replace the old pattern. And what I recommend for you to do is this. The most powerful way you can do this is by creating a vision for your life. Alright? Because you have to understand the mind cannot hold more than one thought, right? You cannot be feeling happy inside at the same time. The mind can only hold one thought. So once you've interrupted the pattern, you create something else. So create a vision for your life. So this is why I say in past videos, I talk about start creating a life that you enjoy. Start doing things that you enjoy. Start hanging out with people. Start doing things that make you feel alive, right? Just by doing that, creating a vision for your life, it creates new thoughts to dominate your mind, right? So you want these new thoughts to dominate your mind to replace the old thought patterns that were running, okay? So that's how you do it, okay? And now the next thing you can do is now you start working towards your vision. And as you continue to do so, you find that you stop thinking about that person as consistently, because there'll be more thoughts dominating you and you'll be doing other things. You'll be preoccupying yourself by being busy, right? That's how it works. Now, what you have to understand is this. A lot of people do this, but it doesn't heal the situation. What's going to heal the situation, like I said, is a change of perspective. Because without that change of perspective, you're still going to be hurting, right? So this is how you change. This is how you change your perspective, right? You do it like this. Now, like I said before, the problem isn't the fact that you're thinking about the person, but the problem is the way that you're thinking about them. So you want to change your perspective on the whole situation. One way you can do that is by this, by writing a letter to that person. So the person who's hurt you or the person who's upset you, write a letter to them, explaining how you feel, explaining the anger, explaining everything. Just be raw with it, right? And after you've written that letter to that person, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna write a letter from that to yourself from the perspective of that person, as if they've just received your letter, and write it out. And what that's gonna do is gonna train your mind to see things from a different perspective, to try to be more empathetic with that person. And as you do that, you'll find that your perspective on the whole situation will change. Because a lot of the time, when you're feeling bad or you're feeling that someone's wronged you, you think that person's bad, that person's a terrible person, that person was just so wrong, was so terrible, kind of thing. But you have to understand this, that people don't intentionally go out to try hurt you, right? The reason people hurt you is because they're hurting themselves. People have their own insecurities, you know what I'm saying? But they won't tell you that, right? But that's what it is. People don't intentionally go out to try hurt you. So it's about you learning to try to be empathetic and to try to understand the other person's point of view. And when you do that, you're able to be more empathetic with them. You're able to be more forgiving. You're able to be more loving. And that's what's going to change your perspective on the whole thing. Because once you change your perspective on the whole thing, you'll be able to heal. But without that, you won't heal. Well, without that, all that's going to happen is this. You're not going to be thinking about them as much, but the pain's still going to be there. And eventually, right, the thing about thought patterns is thought patterns never really go away, right? They just lie dormant. So the less that uses a certain thought pattern, the weaker it gets, but it's still there, right? And the thing is, if you just don't change the perspective and you allow it to remain there, you just block it out and you just push the pain to the back of your mind, this is what's going to happen. Eventually, sooner or later, there will come a trigger, right? And the trigger will create that thought pattern again. And when that thought pattern arises, again, what's going to arise with it? The pain of it. So what you want to do is really change your perspective on the whole issue. And when you've changed the whole perspective of the issue, when that thought pattern arises or when something reminds you of that person, you'll be able to look at them from a less judgmental or less point of view, a point of view that doesn't cause you as much pain, shall we say, for lack of a better word. So what I'm saying in this video is this. First of all, you want to interrupt the thought pattern. So like I said, you have a thought pattern, interrupt the thought pattern, replace it with a new thought pattern, which is creating a vision for your life, right, and work on that vision. So whenever that thought pattern arises, you interrupt it and continue to work on your vision, okay? Because your mind can only hold one thought at a time. And once you've done that, change your perspective on the whole issue. So I've done another video on this, which is called, what's the video called? It's called, it'll come to me. All right, it's called how to get closure from your ex. So if you watch that video, it talks about the example that I gave, and that will help you. And that's what's going to stop you from thinking about that person on a consistent basis, okay? So has anyone got anything to say? Did that make sense? Do you want me to elaborate on anything else? I hope that's coherent enough, because I feel like I was rambling in that. Well, I'm going to have to watch this again. So that's the video of the day, guys. Love, blessings, namaste, goodbye.